There have been a lot of firings taking place over the past 6 weeks. Over 20,000 federal employees have been terminated. And this is just phase one of downsizing the government. But there's a problem because some of these workers, they were fired illegally. Recently, 6 workers just won their jobs back, and now the fight's getting bigger. This number is likely to increase into the future, so what can you do if you're targeted? Let's get into it. The Trump administration has been slashing federal jobs with urgency. All of these changes are coming from the executive branch. Usually, Congress would be involved. They control the funding. They control the federal government employee structure. They control all of that. But they're not invited to get involved, which is surprising because that's how President Clinton was able to reduce the federal workforce when he was president. That's the way Ronald Reagan was able to reduce the federal workforce. He received congressional approval, but not President Trump. Why not? Would it take too long? Maybe he doesn't have the support that we think he has in Congress. One thing is clear. No other president in the history of the United States has taken actions like this. His first target? Well, we already saw the first target. That's probationary employees. There's 200,000 people that either just came into the government, first year, second year, sometimes third year. They're in their trial period trying to become a career employee, or perhaps they had accepted another job. They were working in the Department of Agriculture for, let's say, 10 years, and then they jumped over to the Department of Justice, and now they're on probation once again. Or they're a supervisor, so that comes with its own probation. Regardless of that, 20,000 people got the boot, including 6 employees from the Department of Energy, Department of Education, and the Veteran Affairs. The Merit Systems Protection Board, or the MSPB, is the federal watchdog for workers' rights. On February 25th, they hit the pause button for 45 days. This takes them out to April 10th because the MSPB said there's reasonable grounds these agencies broke the law with a prohibited personnel practice. The translation is you just can't go around the proper layoff procedures simply because someone's on probation. Then we have the Office of Special Counsel, led by Hampton Dillinger, who kicked off this fight when Democracy Forward and a law firm filed a complaint. And this guy was actually fired by Donald Trump, only to be reinstated when he appealed the firing. And it's just not that. We have a federal judge over in San Francisco who's challenging the OPM directives, the OPM memos that was suggesting agencies to fire a large amount of probationary employees, indicating in his ruling that you cannot direct agencies to fire individuals, not when you're OPM, not even when you're Elon Musk. So now we have 85 House Democrats who sent a letter to Dillinger saying, 6 workers? Not enough. Reinstate everyone. They're talking about all the probationary employees that were fired recently, and they're not just stopping with reinstatement. What they really want is they want penalties levied against the individuals that were involved in this, quote, illegal scheme. Probationary workers do have limited appeal rights, but in the situation where an individual was working multiple years and they simply got a reassignment or they became a supervisor and they're under probation that way, those individuals are entitled to full due process. And a lot of that was ignored during the probationary purge. Michelle from Alden Law Group said these are hard-working folks who just want to make this country better. When you zoom in on the people, these are not faceless villains. These are people much like yourself, and they're caught up in a political ping pong match. So what's next? It's fine to want a smaller government if that's your goal, but why not do things the proper way? Invite Congress over to the table. Is there some sort of benefit to doing things in a shock and awe fashion where you're just coming in like a tornado and you're just damaging things, hiring people and then firing people, and then that cycle continues? Is it worth it? Is that the intent, to create disorientation, to create resentment, contentment? I mean, are those objectives as well? Because if you just wanted to make the government smaller, it seems like there's a more structured, proper way in order to do it. Because if you're just focused on the speed and the drama and the impact, what could end up happening, like we're seeing here, is a percentage of the individuals that are getting fired, they're being ruled that it's illegal. These will not be the last people that they rule it is illegal to fire them. If you slow down, invite everybody to the table, and actually look at this stuff line by line and figure out a solid plan, instead of just running in and setting everyone's house on fire, you probably would have better results. Now, if you're a federal employee and you're worried about getting terminated, what are your rights? The MSPB board, that is where you're going to be going to. And it takes a few different steps. Let's go over them real quick. So step one, you got to know your rights. Probationary workers, usually people with 2 or less years, you can still appeal if it's discrimination, retaliation, your marital status, or political reasons. If you're a career employee, you can appeal for a lot more reasons than that. And also, regardless of where you're at, you need to get a written notice from your agency that states the reason why you're being terminated. And it should be accurate, and you should make copies and you should save that. Step 2 is act fast. You got 30 days from the firing date. 30 days to go ahead and submit your appeal. Now, there are waivers to that. Let's say you have a serious illness or some other factors come into it. But ideally, you want to do it within 30 days. The earlier, the better. Step 3, gather your documents. Grab your termination letter, your performance reviews, copies of emails, and have it ready to go so you can submit it online. And if you don't have a reason for termination, that's a red flag. Step 4, file your appeal. You want to go to mspb.gov and click the e-appeal button. It's all online right now. You fill out the form, you upload your documents, you explain why you believe you were fired illegally. Step 5, wait it out. The MSPB reviews it, holds a hearing, and boom, maybe you get back pay, maybe you get reinstated. Now, the average time to hear back from these folks is 3 to 4 months. So it's going to take some time, and there will be a lot of appeals hitting the MSPB over the next few months throughout the entirety of 2025. So be expected to wait a while. And what's even better, if you can manage it, if you can afford it, is get a lawyer. There are groups like Democracy Forward that can help you for free sometimes. And if you have veterans preference, mention that. That changes your status. Same thing with whistleblower. That status can help strengthen your case as well. Now, right now, the federal workforce makes up less than 2%. It's something like 1.7% of the entire workforce in the United States of America. So it's tiny. And even if they reduced it by half, that would be less than 1%. I think the private sector can absorb it. And even if you don't want to go to the private sector, if you want to go state government, county government, wherever, those people are going to be fine. Individuals with skills, abilities, experience, and education, they're going to be fine. And that represents the majority of the federal workforce. But take a step back, not worrying about if they're going to be able to get another job, because I'm confident that they will be able to. And to that effect, we have state governors in Virginia and other states that are saying, hey, listen, we have tens of thousands of government jobs. We need you to work for the state. So some federal employees are going to decide to do that. Now, did it have to be handled this way? Did we have to go through it and cause panic, fear, and this ambiguous nature of what's coming next? When is the other shoe falling? No, we didn't have to do that. Did it disparage the federal workforce? Yes. Is the reputation damaged to a certain extent? Yes. Are college kids right now in university that are considering what are they going to do when they get out of college? People with skills, engineering, IT, programming, are they going to be as drawn to be a public servant? Are they going to want to get into the federal government to help the FBI, to help the CIA, the NSA? No. You have somewhat impacted their interest level, the way that you're speaking about it, the way that you're framing being a public civil servant in the year 2025. You're making it seem like it's a negative thing, that we don't want to have those type of individuals. Instead, what I think the vibe is, the opinion is, private sector is amazing. And it is. Private sector is great for innovation and for a lot of reasons. But what I believe will happen in the future is there's going to be more of a push to augment the federal workforce by adding more contractors. That could be a reality. Right now, there are more contractors that work for the government than the federal employees. In the private sector, when an employee is able to generate $400,000 in revenue, you pay him $150,000. So the other $350,000 goes to the company for R&D, for profit, for all the rest of it. So you're spending a lot to get these workers now on the contracting side. If a federal judge determines that there were more illegal firings, more people could get reinstated. And like I mentioned earlier, there was a federal judge in California that ruled OPM doesn't have the authority. They cannot mandate firings within these agencies. If you want to know a little bit more about that, I want you to check this video out next. If you need a federal resume, check out the links down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.